Another week and another dev blog from WARNO. Today we have our second Massena preview, and this one is basically the opposite side, so we now have the East German counterpart to the Territorial Kommando Süd. Today we are taking a look at the Kampfgruppe der Arbeiterklasse Bezirk Erfurt. And from this point in the video forward, we're going to call them the KDA to save me trying to pronounce that multiple times. So, moving on, they are a workers' army. As we detailed in our first preview, our focus in the milestone will be on two territorial commands, divisions that contain a mix of rear-line troops with additional armour and artillery support. Most times these formations would guard rear against the potential airborne assaults or special forces raids. Equipped with older vehicles and arms, these commands could still handle themselves well in a defensive fight. The name actually translates to Erfurt District's combat group of the working class, situating the Warsaw Pact division in the south part of East Germany, facing Sentag in particular. The organisation for this formation differed from the West German counterpart, made up of paramilitary style platoons and companies. The soldiers were mainly party members or politically reliable. While technically a civil reserve force and in some ways a heavily armed militia because of its training and armament, combat groups of the working class were well organised as a rear echelon defensive formation. Of course, in war, these Kampfgruppe der Arbeiterklasse could deploy away from their home territories. Divided into companies of 100 men each, the citizen soldiers of the KDA hailed from large factories or cities' neighbourhoods. Heavy 100 companies were equipped with anti-tank, mortar and anti-air platoons. In WARNO, the KDA squads will be especially big, with 14 men per squad. They only field one light machine gun, while the KDA Führer can bring 6 soldiers into the battlefield, carrying only the KMS-72. Much like a lot of equipment for this division, older small arms were available from the KMS-72, the AK-47, in place of the AK-74 and RPG-7, and the ubiquitous LMG K machine guns. Heavier arms included the 120mm mortars, the 23mm anti-air guns, and the D44 85mm anti-tank guns. In the event of war, the KDA would have relied on an arsenal of vintage materials bought from reserve training units. In East German Division's case, this would have been the ZSU 57-2 Heavy Spag, the BRDM-2 Malute, the BTR-152 Armoured Personnel Carrier, and the PT-76, and even the museum-worthy T-34/85 tanks. Much like the West German Territorial Süd, our East German territorials were tasked with protecting precious assets of the army. In WARNO, they will be able to call in heavy AA and artillery support, both East German and Soviet. As a result, with the KDA, you will be able to bring to bear the Soviet 2S7M Malka, 203mm self-propelled artillery, and the East German M46 130mm long-range howitzer. The previously mentioned ZSU 57-2 will be part of the package. While this self-propelled anti-air gun might be obsolete against fast-moving combat planes, its twin 57mm anti-air guns, the largest in the game, could still pose a major threat against low and slow-flying helicopters. Furthermore, the Soviet 9K-37 Buk M1 will also be available. This mobile heavy SAM is a new unit, though it was briefly featured in the 79th Guards Tank Division before being removed. While the Bundeswehr maintained 11 divisions in peacetime, the East German NVA only had 6, but the army was well drilled and organised, so in the case of war, 4 infantry divisions could be formed from the reservists within half a week. These formations would be raised in the rear, exactly the area of operations of the KDA. Our new East German division will have access to a few reserve Motsuchen division assets. Infantry squads in BTR-70s or BTR-50s, T-55As, ATGM and manpad teams, etc. So basically what they're saying is they won't just have really completely untrained 14-man infantry squads, they're actually going to get some real infantry as well. But moving on, what can you expect in the game itself? Let's have a look at each of the categories again in turn. The districts category is quite generous with access to many unarmed command vehicles and numerous supplies, including the heavy Mi-26 helicopter. Likewise, infantry forces are pretty decent with the KDA infantry at its core, but also some vet-locked reserve pioneer and Motsuchin squads. The former can field the BTR-152 as an armoured transport, and the latter the BTR-50. Artillery units are good. The division has access to the Malka super heavy self-propelled guns and the M46 towed howitzers, as well as the 120mm mortars and the D30 122mm howitzers. Armoured tank forces are nothing to write home about, with mostly older equipment being fielded. This includes the PT-76, the T-34/85 and the T-55A tanks. They will also get access to the UAZ Faggot and the BRDM-2 Malyuka tank destroyers and the D-44 towed anti-tank guns. Recon is also a bit lacking, with only a few scout squads, an unarmed Mi-2 recon helicopter, and the BRDM-2 and PT-76 armoured recon vehicles. AA, on the other hand, is pretty good, with heavy Soviet 9K-37 Buk M1 SAM, the East German Strela 2M Manpad squads, and the ZSU-57-2 Spag and ZU-23-2 light AA guns. A few helo units can be fielded, including the Soviet NVA Mi-8 gunships, as well as the Mi-8 MT Gov with its 30mm pods. So that's another appearance by the Daka Daka helicopter. Now, air support is capable with a selection of Soviet and East German planes. New loadouts are the Soviet Su-17M4 with the 240mm rockets, the anti-tank MiG-27M, and the Seed Su-24MP. You will also be able to field the East German MiG-21 BIS with 130mm rockets. And that's it. That is the end of this week's devblog. Another short and sweet one. However, I will now stick in some pictures, as I always do, from the Instagram account, so anyone who doesn't have that can take a look at what they've been posting. So please enjoy those. Hopefully, this time next week, we will already have our balance patch. I have my fingers crossed. We should be getting a tank rebalance. We should be getting auto-loaders again, apparently, on the Soviet tanks, certainly. Which in turn may mean that the whole veterancy situation, increasing rate of fire for tanks, may be nullified. Other than the Vasilek also being fixed so that it will fire like a normal mortar rather than a grenade launcher with pinpoint accuracy, should be getting hopefully a general rebalance of the infantry survivability again, and beyond that, they are talking now about bringing back FOBs, but I doubt that's going to be in this patch, and whether it's going to be for specific divisions only, I do not know, but they want to give more meaning to utilizing the empty supply trucks that you bring in. So hopefully lots of small meaningful changes coming over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching everyone, please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.